Welcome to the Coach's Corner. Coach Clarence is an entrepreneur, financial expert, and passionate about helping people build and market their business. He has a creative flair for thinking outside the box and is always looking for the positive side of life. Now, here's Coach Clarence.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Coach Corner Fit Over 40. I'm your host, Coach Clarence, and today I have a guest, Ed Parcaut. I hope I said your name right. I should have.
Parcaut.
There you go.
It's okay.
He's a guy who does what I do, but he's doing it a whole lot more than me. So I wanted to have him on to get a different perspective. And he's 25 years in the industry. He's the founder and CEO of Lending for Living. And he has a passion for helping clients navigate the complex process of purchasing a home with ease and understanding. His best-selling book, Financial Freedom, Building Personal Wealth Through Homeownership. Ed, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Good. Thanks for coming on.
So you're a broker also?
Yeah, currently I'm doing some brokering. Yeah.
In the mortgage industry?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can read your hat. That's why I'm asking.
One of my three jobs, that whole little spectrum we talked about before, I dabble in all of them. So that's why I do what I do. Kind of tell me about your background, how you get to where you are now.
How long do we have? I'm just kidding. It's a short story. So when I grew up, my dad died of hairy cell leukemia when I was 12, which was from Agent Orange and from, Vietnam. And so I grew up real fast, worked on my grandfather's dairy during the summers and on weekends, and realized that's not what I wanted to do for a living. So I thought I'd join the Navy, see the world, and I got to see San Diego, actually Camp Pendleton of San Diego, after I was at downtown in San Diego. I was in the Navy for 5 years, 5 months, but who was counting? Got my bachelor's and master's while I was in, and then ended up falling into the mortgage industry after that, and found out I really loved it because I love numbers. I love helping people understand that they can actually afford a home. It changes your life. It changes the dynamics of your family and all the way through, and your kids and everything else. And so it's so important to own real estate in this market, not only in this market, but all the time.
Mm-hmm. What do you say to your clients right now in this type of a market? Everyone's
buy
rates.
Buy.
Uh-huh.
When I got into this market, when I first started, I was taking people from 13 to 9, and they loved me. Yeah. I was giving 2.99s, and people were thinking I was taking advantage of them. It's the perspective is different. So that those low rates that we had, you probably were in that business at the time, that was anomaly. We all thought we were going to die and not survive, and that's why rates went where they did. They shut down the whole economy. And so we were in a recession, and when you're in a recession, rates go down. We've never had them go down to that, but usually rates go down. And we're on the precipice of another one. We just don't know when it's starting because the government keeps spending money, not listening to the Fed. And I always tell people it's really hard to be when you have a family on a budget, if only one of the people is on a budget, it doesn't work. And that's where we are right now. The Fed's trying to stop stuff, but this government, it keeps going, let's just keep spending because eventually they'll stop us from doing it. And that's what they don't care. They have other agendas. So
I noticed from looking at a lot of your information before we chatted, you are really big on the education piece. Why is that so important to you?
Because I've been in this business for a very long time, and I want people to understand how easy it is to buy a home. Mm-hmm. A lot of people think it's very difficult to buy a home. It's not that difficult. You make it more difficult than anybody else. We get in our own way because I listen to people all the time. I got this house hack. I got this house. And I'm thinking, okay, that's not that big of a deal. Anybody can get in this to buy a home as long as you have the credit, income, and the asset. Well, the asset you can always get. You can get a gift. You can do other things. USDA, 100% financing, VA, 100% finance. There's so many other ways to get that part of it. But here's what happens. Somebody who buys a home and somebody rents, the person who bought a home has $250,000 more in equity over a 20-year period than somebody who rents. Somebody who rents, max they're going to have is $8,000 saved.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Even in this market, people are going, oh, it's cheaper. You got to be careful listening to the media. And this is a little political thing here I'm going to do. But BlackRock owns so much stuff and have their hands in so many things, and they are buying properties. They're building whole housing, single family housing blocks and creating all these home, I can't even think of the word I'm thinking of, but where they build all the houses and they built all those houses they're building to rent. So 1 in 4 constructions that you see of housing going up is all for just rent. They don't want you to own. They want you to come to them and rent for the rest of your life. So that way they can make money. So you have to be very careful. And the reason I say media, because they're in media also, and their whole purpose, they're pushing one narrative. They're right about one thing. If you only look at payment difference, it's cheaper to rent than to buy.
Gotcha.
Right now, prior to the last year and a half, people went, it's cheaper to buy than rent. I should do that. The payment's the same. I should do it. Now that the payment's more and it's back to where it was, where it's truly an investment for your future. And over time, that payment is going to get cheaper than rent, but you do it for the tax benefits. You do it for the equity building, not just because, hey, it's cheaper than the rent payment. But that's what we got into, and so nobody really thought about why you really do it. They just thought, hey, it's a good idea. It's always a good idea. The difference now, it's an investment, meaning that it's usually $500 to $1,000 more than what rents are. And it's been that way forever. Only during the pandemic, it wasn't. That's the difference.
Yeah. I was listening to Barry Habib was talking about that this morning. Same point you were making on the media. And these are kind of calls that we get. People are saying, hey, listen, I should just rent. And then, I say, listen, let's do a overtime comparison, but it is tough right now, for some folks,
it is very unaffordable for most people. And when I say most people, if you're not making, and depending on where you are, like in California, though, if you don't make close to $100,000, you're not getting a house minimum. Right. And and we're not talking Bay Area. We're not talking Southern California. We're talking little old Modesto, California, 203,000, small town. And you have to make $100,000 to buy a house here minimum. And that's where it's at, because house values have gone up so much because we're not building enough homes. Just in California, we're short 2.5 million homes.
Wow.
Nationwide, we're almost 20 million homes short. And if you look, and we haven't been building for many different reasons. Right now, they're not building as much because they're worried about the payments and selling the homes. But the biggest issue, and I just cut this up and just dropped it before I came on here, it's about the transformers that they need to build these housing tracts. There, I finally figured the word out again. Tracks. These housing tracts, they need transformers. That we don't have that material it needs in the United States to make it, so they have to get it from overseas. Well, right now, that's normally a month to make those things. It's a year out.
Yeah.
And 4 times the cost that normally it is.
Yeah.
That's what's also slowing down building. So we need so many homes. We're not building them, so we keep adding to this deficit. It's going to get to a point where we're never going to catch up. It's going to take us 20 years to catch up. And then when we get there in 20 years, you know what else is coming? The pandemic babies. It's as big as the baby boomer generation.
Yep.
Those 2 years of kids that were popped out because there was nothing else to do, I guess. Then now in 25 years, they're going to come of age and go, I want a house. And there aren't going to be any house, for them. And so a lot of people go, well, and this is big in California with the ADUs, right? Additional dwelling units. That's how you're going to save them. No, it's not. 1,000 square foot in the backyard is not going to save enough or get enough people into homes. But it seems like I'm talking the whole time. This is your show, man.
No, I'm loving it. I'm interviewing you, man. Believe me, I talk all the time. I do have a question for you. I've interviewed a couple of veterans who are in the business, and they all have a different story of what they've taken from their military experience to the mortgage industry. So I'll pose that question to you. What have you taken from your military experience, and how have you parlayed that into lending?
Attention to detail.
Attention to detail.
Yeah, basically I make sure. So, and also I don't like making a mistake. I was a corpsman in the Navy. You make a mistake, somebody dies. And so that's the same thing I hear. If I've had one fallout in the last 10 years.
That's awesome.
So and it's not like I just cherry pick either. I make sure that there's so many systems and so many ways to do it these days. I fully underwrite all my pre-approvals. There is no pre-quals. right? Even though in where I live, there's 2 counties who still accept pre-quals. So I let them do that, but then I take it all the way through to a fully underwritten pre-approval. That is the only way to make sure that person is going to be in that house all the way through. There's nothing worse than getting somebody excited about a house and then pulling the rugs out from underneath them and going, I'm sorry, we can't do that. And then that's looked bad on you.
Sure.
Then agents aren't going to work with you. Other people aren't going to work with you. That's not what I want. I want to make sure when I give out a piece of paper, it's worth what it's written on there, and it's good to go. And that's the attention to detail, follow through, SOPs. Were you in the military?
No, a lot of friends and family though.
SOP, standard operating procedures, huge in the military. It's so if you're there one day and somebody else comes in and you're not there anymore, they can take over your job by reading a book. And that's basically what we want to make sure we have in case there's an issue, something happens, it's not going to affect you. And it is just getting so much easier and easier to do loans and the automation, and the companies who have the automation to work with them as brokers. I don't know who you work with, but UWM is one of my favorite places because everything is, I love. So where are you out of?
I'm in Arizona right now.
Okay. So I'm in California and we're an escrow state, which means normally you sign, they finish up the final conditions, blah, 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 and then it closes. Well, a lot of these companies are out of Detroit where it's not an escrow state. So when you sign, it's done. That's why their pre-funded docs in California are huge, because not everybody does it that way.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's why they've taken by storm. People are like, what do you mean you sign and it's done? And that's how it is in Colorado. You sit down at the closing table, you sign, and here's your keys, walk away. That's pretty close to where we are now with the UWM. Right? Because if you sign at 8:30 in the morning, they can request the wire. It funds and records the same day. Here's your keys. It's just a few hours later.
Yeah. So tell me about a time you overcame something really traumatic that really had you go back to the basics.
You're talking on a loan? On a loan?
Oh, just in life in general.
2008.
2008?
Yeah.
What happened?
That was when we had the fallout in the whole industry.
Oh yeah, that's when my divorce started. Yeah.
I mean, so another one is right now, right? And I know people say you sound so political, but the issue is we have a government who stopped. The first time I saw him close that pipeline, the moment he shut that pipeline down, I was like, shit, here comes inflation. No one else heard that, but I did it. And gas prices got more. We spent more and more money, and you look now, we have this inflation they can't get under control. That has destroyed our industry. We're at only 35% of the existing home sales are coming on the market, and that's only death, divorces, and job transfers. That's unsustainable for most of us in the industry. And so there's, you look back, 2008, we had 3.5 million homes on the market. Nothing was closing. And then finally people started doing short sales in the end of 2008 and all the way through. And then that changed the industry. But for me, that actually destroyed my company. I went bankrupt, you name it. It was the worst time of my life. Coming out of that, I was much better. But, and again, whatever happens to you in life, and a good friend of mine, Steve Sims, he's a pain in the ass, but he's a good friend of mine. And he did a little meme the other day, and he's like, he was talking about a good friend of his that was in a wheelchair and all this stuff. And he passed away a year or so ago. And he's like, the one thing he always said was when something happened, he was, and it would, mess with him or whatever. Did this happen to me or did this happen for me?
Yeah.
So right now the question is, with what's going on, you look at the same way. Is this happening against you or for you? And for a lot of us, I'm going back, refocusing a lot more on my videos. I started cutting up my own videos with using the AI software and everything else. And they're doing way much better than the other companies I'd hired. And it's not that I'm amazing. It's just, I know the one thing I had problems with prior to this is when they cut out my videos, they were weeks old, right? They were not within over 24 hours or in a few hours. I can do it in a few minutes after I'm done with my show in the morning. Yeah. I don't think a lot of people realize I've been on radio for the last 5 years, and we record that and I cut that up also, but I also do 9 lives a week from my radio show, 5 days a week, 8:30 in the morning. And we do a live with my co-host and we talk about the market. I cut that up. That's fresh and new right then. People eat that up. Where if it's weeks old, that's weeks old news. Nobody wants to see that. Right. And so it makes a total difference. And that stuff you should keep to a certain point, knowing how to get it down. And once you get it down, then hand it off to a VA, but still be fully in it. You can always hire people to take your applications. You can hire people to go through the process of your loans and make sure you talk to clients. That's your job, and making sure, but they can do all the work. But you need to stay on your video side. You understand what I'm getting at? I'm re-looking at everything I've been doing. So as much as this has hurt me financially, just like everybody else, it also, once we get through some of this, it's going to help me much more on the other side.
So the big question everyone's asking, when are rates going down? What are you saying these days?
A year and a half.
Whoa, you're pushing it out really far. I was
here's their thinking. All right. So if you look at, I just read this today. There's 40 economists who said that, I don't know if you saw that. They said that the market is going to, the Fed isn't done. They're going to need it. And 50% of them are saying they need at least another quarter. 35% are saying 2 more times. I'm saying until this government stops spending, we aren't going to be out of this. And when are they going to stop spending? If they get kicked out of the government. Right. And Clinton, when he was in his first 2 years, he was doing the same thing, but then he realized he couldn't get anything done. And so he changed and he worked with everybody. This president's still not working with everybody. I don't know who's in, and I don't want to get majorly political, but the issue is you just see what's going on. It's like, why are you still spending when everybody's hurting? Low income people are not eating. I don't know if you know that. They're missing 45% of them are missing 1 meal a day now. Middle class is starting to hurt also. This is becoming, I got almost $7 a gallon diesel in my right now.
Yeah, you're in Cali. You guys are always high.
We're on our winter blend.
Jeez. I filled up today on the way back here and it was $5 a gallon. So it's not as bad as California.
$170 to fill up my tank in my truck.
Yeah.
F-250 diesel.
I'm from California, but yeah, I'm not in a hurry to head back over there anytime soon.
I love California. I love the weather. I love everything. I just don't like the politics. And it doesn't, and the politics of California is Republicans' fault.
Yeah.
This governor of California, which was Arnold Schwarzenegger, tried to run this thing through that got it to the top 2 people on the ballot instead of top 2 parties, and has messed it up ever since. And nobody wants to move it back because that means it would actually be a good system. I want to get rid of all parties and just have people run for office. No more parties.
It's tough though, because you got to have some big money or a party.
I know.
We're baked in, man.
Well, and that's why they don't want term limits. Because if you had term limits, then there would be no big money behind anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
This is
but
true.
Anyway, the issue that we have right now is just, that's why I said a year and a half, because if we get very close and they still win, we're got another 4 years of this. This is 1973 right now. And if it doesn't change, we're going to get into the 1980s. If you don't know what that looks like, go find the old movie Warriors and watch that movie.
Yeah, it was one of my favorite. Warriors come out
to play. Hey. But go look, they show you New York. That's not fake pictures of New York. That is how bad it is. And that's where we're going. Yeah. And so unfortunately, yeah.
So
buy a house so you're protected.
Buy a house, yeah. So those who just say I can't, do you provide strategies for them? I mean, what I do with people who can't buy, I just say, look, we got to work together. Sometimes it's just a single person in the house, and then you don't want to be rude and say, well, get a partner. No, it's like, what are you telling people these days? Because that's the main thing. People want to buy, they're starting to get the message, but they're feeling hopeless.
Go get my book. And I'm not trying to sell books. I don't make any, if you know anything about writing a book, you don't make any money off of it. It's like, here is my calling card. Here's my business card. Go get my book. It's, invest $19 in you. Go to Amazon, type in Ed Parcaut, or just go getedsbook.com and go to my website, click on it. It'll take you right to Amazon, because a lot of people can't spell my name or say my name, and no Nick on you, because it's been my whole life. All right.
I use the Asper's, man.
It's usually that French. It's that French pronunciation that messes everybody up. And the reason I say that is I give them out, tons of them, for people to read. And my business partner for the radio show, he gave it to his son, and his son's like, you know what? I actually feel like I can really purchase now next year. Mm-hmm. And the reason is it walks you through everything. It's not that big of a deal. The first chapter in this, I had another friend of mine, his dad's like, I've never had a real estate book that the first chapter is credit. I'm like, yeah, it's the most important thing. If you don't have credit or you need to work on it, we got to get that fixed first before you can go to income. Right? No more. Huh?
Go ahead. I was gonna say I was listening to something today, and I knew I was gonna have you on. I wanted to get your take on it. So, medical collections, a lot of times we don't count them. So
Right.
now there's some push. Supposedly, Biden is pushing that he's going to get it where if you have medical collections, they can't be used against you. They can't lower your credit. And there was this big debate going back. Well, it doesn't go anywhere because a lot of people heard, oh, they're going to get rid of my medical collection. And it's like, no, they're not. They're just saying it's not going to hurt you. And then I'm telling people, because people are calling, hey, I heard that. I'm like, listen, doesn't mean that collector can't come back around and redo something else and it's going to redeem you. What do you think about that?
I think it's just another ploy to get votes.
Yeah.
That's all. I mean, because right now you're right. Unless right now that takes them 12 months to be able to put it on there. Right. Eventually, it has to. Right now, they're taking, if it's $500 or whatever less, it's off of there. They have to work on it for like 12 months, if I understand the thing, before they can even put it on there. The big thing is, if you have medical collections, why do you have them? If you have an employer who's supposed to pay, you got 12 months to work with it to get it taken care of, right? Most medical collections will take a discount, right? And here, pennies on the dollar to go away because they know they're going to be sitting there forever, or sell it to somebody else. So I don't think they should. It's not a big deal whether they're on there or not, but because we don't count them. But if we don't count them, why even have them on there? Are you following me? Right.
Yeah.
And so, and that's and so for me, long story, I think again, it's just like the student loan thing. I'm going to take care of student loans so you can vote my way. And I think it's the worst thing because they're trying to get people stuck on the government. I believe in government, but small government. Get out of my way. I want to make a living. Don't, I know how to spend my money. We don't have a revenue problem right now. We have a spending problem. Same with California. They want to raise this, do more taxes. We have a Prop 13, Prop 13, where you buy your house, your taxes don't go up but 30%. Why is that so important in California? Because our values go up. If you want to know how bad it is, go to Texas. Buy a house in Texas. In 10 years, your taxes will double because they go up 10% a year. If you have an investment property in Texas, it goes up whatever the value goes up each year. So 3% of the value of, so if your house goes up $100,000 in a year, your taxes now just went up $3,000 in Texas if it's a rental.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want small government, get out of my way. Now, if somebody's messing with people, whatever, get government intervention and get them. But that's not what happens these days anymore. It's sad because we live in California where you can still 900, as long as it's under $950, it's okay. But the problem is they'll bring in 100 people, all of them still $950 less. And now there's millions of dollars just taken out of that store, but they can't be prosecuted because it's under a certain dollar amount.
How does that even
San Francisco, because they thought it was a lifestyle crime that they were doing it for drugs. It goes back to that whole
I'm
broken
from California. It embarrasses me because people get shit about that all the time. Like, they didn't vote for that.
It doesn't happen in our neighborhood, just so you know. Our sheriff, our police chief, fuck that. We're arresting them.
Yeah.
That's
steal something. You should.
And then what they do is they add them up till it becomes a felony too. You know what I mean? They don't just do it one time. They're like, okay, now this is a felony. And that's why we're all concealed weapons permit, huge, in our county, 15,000 plus of them. That's why we don't get the same problems as the other counties close to us.
Now, here's a question for you. DPA,
I know we're off home.
No, I love this. Is good for people to hear, man.
Yeah.
Like, I like to just talk to people.
It's but community, that's like my radio show, right? Nobody wants to talk about real estate and finance all the time. They want to talk community. And that's really big.
You, Ed. That's what I always tell people. People buy you. I mean, if I just talked about mortgage rates, we'd be done in 10 minutes. The rates are high. Get your credit fixed. Okay, nice talking to you, Ed. But I want to get into people's life. So our DPA's big. I haven't done any. I haven't even had to take an application in California, but our DPA's big down there. And do they even make sense in California?
No, because the only time that people will take that is if there's no other offers.
Gotcha.
Right. We have multiple offers over askings right now still. Okay.
So
even with this market, limited inventory. If we had inventory, so if people don't realize, we only have about 500. I just checked the number. We're 518,000 homes nationwide, where normally we have 1.2 million in a normal period of time nationwide of houses on the market. That's think about that. That's nothing. We're 750,000 houses lower than we normally are. So yes, there are some pockets in certain places that are in trouble. That's how it is. You're in Arizona. Where in Arizona?
Arizona. I'm in Phoenix.
Because didn't they just pass something about water issues or not building one of the, huh?
Yeah, we have water issues right now.
Yeah.
Well,
So
we have
that's
water issues.
and so that's going to cause one or two things. They're not going to build any more houses. They're going to go up because nobody can afford. They're not going to build any more houses. So people, the ones that are going to be the most expensive, and that's what we're running into. If we're not building, and that okay, one other issue to build affordable housing. What does the word affordable mean?
Yeah, to who?
Yeah, and to whom, right? Because right now they're building an affordable housing in Sacramento, 5-story apartment complex, average home 650,000, but that's affordable.
Oh man, that's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, UWM has that product where it's 1% down, but where are you going to find a house?
It's 1% down up to $2,000.
Right.
So
That
that's
doesn't even pay their escrow deposit.
right. So it's 2% up to $2,000, I think, or they're up to 4,000. I think it's up to 4,000 now, right? So that's a $200,000 home, and you come in with $2,000. Where is that?
Nowhere. Not
Tennessee. You know,
maybe in the middle of the country or something. I don't know where you can eat 200,000. And it's this sad because I get people qualified and I show them what they qualify for, and I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know what to tell you, man. Yeah.
I don't know how you are, but how's USDA in some of those areas? Because for me, USDA is huge up in a lot of my counties. 100% financing. There's no limit. It's about your debt to income ratio. That's it.
Yeah, well, people like the idea, but then when they find out where they're going to be living, then the enthusiasm goes away.
Because so for us, rural, means, but that means different to everybody and where we are. Like I do Tuolumne County, which I don't know if you know where that is. The rural, a lot of people live up there and they use it for vacations and other stuff, but it's rural, so they can buy 100% financing up there easily. Yeah. But 3% down, because everybody's like, I'm first-time home buyer. Well, that just means you can do 3% down, because FHA is all the time buying. That's not, first-time home buying. They think some amazing programs. There's not a ton of amazing programs. We have CalHEFA here in California, right? Yeah. And that's 3% down, and you can do the thing to where it's 100% financing, but that rate is ridiculous. We had a program last year that was called Shared Appreciation for All, which turned into Shared Appreciation for Some. And basically it was like 250 homes in the whole state. They had 300 million for it. And the problem in it was 20% down. The problem, it was supposed to help a lot of people. It didn't. It went to like places in LA and other places, Yeah, so that's why there was only a couple hundred homes done, and it was, first come, first serve, and it went away. They're trying to do the same thing again with 500 million. And the problem is, in that 2-week period that it was available, it increased the values of homes by probably 10 to 20%, because you didn't have one offer or additional offer. You had 22 offers on that house now until that money went away. And again, they're trying to bring it up again. And how do you build affordable housing? You take that money, you help builders buy land, you help builders get rid of the initial cost of the subdivision, the making the overpasses, the freeway off ramps, all those things that you charge the builders to do and include in the price of a home. You get rid of that through the county and the city and and then that's through these instead of the money to the people, you give the money to the builders only to build houses for sale. And those would be 100 to 200,000 cheaper than those other houses for rent. You follow me?
Yep.
And so the builders will be building these all day long. And that's how you fix the affordable program, not by giving extra money to them.
You've been through a drought. I actually started in 2000, went to 2008 and got out of it. I was done with it, right? What do you tell a young loan officer or somebody just got in the business? What would you, let's say you had a mentee just started and he's in this market right now. What would you tell him?
Go become a nurse.
Go become a nurse.
So when I got out of the Navy, I was an LVN. I didn't, I could have went and I didn't. I got in the business. If I would have been smart, I would have finished a 2-year degree, got that RN, became an admin, and then also did this business.
So are you advocating for a side hustle, if you will?
I'm telling people right now, get as much affiliate marketing that you can get under your books so that you have additional sources of income. And real estate, whatever, not only just real estate, but there's so many other things you can do. I don't know if you know Opus Pro, the software that you can cut up all the software that's affiliate. You can get 30 to 40% and sell it to other people, off of what you sell. There's so many ways to do it. I would tell you to get a lot of that going also. Mm-hmm. And
I
then
just
so that
started
way,
using that about a month ago, so I'm
yeah,
familiar with it.
it's great. It's a great program. If you guys want to try it, go to Try Opus Pro. That's my affiliate link, by the way.
I love the hustle.
And Cast Magic, there's another one that you drop your stuff in there, it breaks everything up for you. You can create additional stuff, and that has allowed me, like I talked about originally, because I do so much video. There was no way to pay to have it cut up because it would cost 10 grand a month.
Right.
And now I can have it done so inexpensive, or I can do most of it myself in a couple hours.
That's true. Yep.
And because of that stuff. And if you do it right, it's very easy. And what I mean is, as you're filming stuff, you make sure that you say certain things that you want in there so that you can include that in what you do. And that's what I do on my morning shows. I sit there at home and go through all the different stuff, put it together. I used to wait for MBS Highway to come out and then print it as a PDF, edit it, and drop it in Chat GPT to change it. But I do it totally different now, because by the time that stuff comes out, half the time they don't have anything to do with the NHAB today. They'll deal with it tomorrow or something. I want current stuff right now.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this for so long, and I know, Barry, that I just second opinion. You know what I mean? Kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. Because Barry's been wrong. Believe me,
We all have been wrong. We all have been wrong. Yeah. Somebody else put out there just yesterday, I was reading. It's like, I heard it was going to be May, and then it was going to be June that rates were going to come down, and then it was September. It's like, because that's what Barry kept saying. Well, there's so many other stuff. We've used up half of our strategic reserve of oil to offset the different elections and this president has used up more oil than all the other presidents together.
Wow.
And it's going to cost like 28 billion to put the oil back in there. And that's not what it's for. There's just so many issues and so many problems that we need to get to. And you ask me, well, if somebody's looking to buy, they just say, well, now is the time. When you have Dave Ramsey saying you're going to want to buy now, because in a year from now, it's not, you're going to wish you did, in 2 years from now, in 5 years. I've been saying that for the last year. What people don't realize is, when it's hard to buy something, that's the perfect time, because you don't have the competition. And I've seen a few memes, but I think the best one is, if you look at a Tour de France, if you've ever seen any of the bicycle races, there's always that one guy out in front, way above everybody else. And then you have about 5 people trying to catch him, right? Right now, if you buy that house, you're that one person out in front. As those 5 people come up and catch you, that's 1% lower in interest rate. Well, we get 1.5 lower. That peloton of thousands of riders are coming to catch you. And that's what's going to happen. Now you're going to compete against 22 other people. Prime example, I was talking to an agent the other day, and he had 22 people at his open houses, and they all said they're going to wait until rates go down. So right now, one of them could have got that house.
Right.
But now they're going to wait until all 22 have an opportunity to get it. And now they got 22 people bidding on that house, and you're going to raise the house value up. And then anything of the rate going down, you've just offset it by that house going up in value. Yep. The savings that you would have had is not going to be there. But if you buy the house today, yes, it's a little bit more expensive in your payment. Maybe you get the seller to kick out some money to lower the interest rates, depending on where the market is, buy down that rate with $10,000. So it goes from the 7 point, today it was like 7.19 Fannie Freddie said today. Buy that down to 6.5 or 6% with that 10 grand. That saves you a couple $100 a month. Well, in a year and a half from now, 2 years from now, these rates are going to be much lower, not 3% lower, 5%. But that's huge.
That makes a huge difference. Yeah.
A year ago today, this is we're doing this September 22nd, just so people know. A year ago today, we were at 6.35.
You're right.
So everyone's like, really? I thought it was much lower. No,
because they're still stuck back in when we had the threes, man.
and that was again. And if you look at the volume of properties, we didn't have that many volume of properties. The only reason there were so many loan officers is because of the refinances.
Right.
People were like, hey, I want to take $100 grand out to buy an RV. What's my payment? Oh, it's $400 less. You know what I mean? It's like, what? And I took so many people from 30 to 15 years.
Yeah.
And it cost, half of them $1 more in a payment or the same payment. And they're all happy. But the problem now is you have golden handcuffs. You're stuck to that house. It's like being in a abusive relationship. You want to do all this stuff, but you can't. And that's the problem right now. So many people want to come back to California. I'm serious. They're in Texas. And you talk to them, how is it? And they're like, It's hot all the time. Yeah, no shit.
Well,
Excuse
welcome
my
to
language.
Arizona. It's hot all the time.
Right. Yeah,
Uh,
but you see, with us, we always get a coastal breeze. We have a Pacific Ocean that's cold.
we
You know,
don't
it's
get none of
cools
that.
way down. And so there's so many issues of such low rates that eventually those rates are going to go away because people can't just stay there any longer. They're going to understand, hey, it makes more sense to get rid of that, to go buy and do what we need to do. Yeah, we have like 4 kids now and they're in 2 rooms and it's driving us nuts. It's not a big enough house. Your sanity is more important than saving $500 to $1,000 a month.
Exactly.
And
so true.
yeah, and that's, so down the road it will get better, but we're talking time. I think we're going to be in a 10-year slow existing home sale market.
Yeah. Well,
And new homes aren't coming either as fast because of the
that's why I
transformer
do all the
issues.
things I do. I've been able to stay afloat because it's definitely affected my business big time. But
Reverse mortgages. There's another whole. That's where you. And the reason I say that is because you have seniors who are low income. They have their Social Security and that. Well, they can't. It's just foods are so expensive right now. Food, gasoline, everything. And so I'm doing it. That's where I'm staying. I'm doing a ton of those. It wasn't my favorite loan to do because I think there's many other things, but for most people who are doing them right now, it's the perfect loan. Leave your 401k, leave your IRA, all that stuff intact. Don't take money out of there because the market's down a little bit compared to where it was. Get a reverse mortgage. You don't have a mortgage payment. You can live there till you're over 120, which most people won't live that long, and you have no payment for the rest of your life. You just got taxes and insurance, and yeah, and that's it. And so a lot of people are asking for those now, where a year ago they were like, it's just not a big deal. And now they're like, yes, we want them again. So
yeah, absolutely. So
so I would tell you, go after 2 things. You're a loan officer, right?
Yep.
Reverse mortgages and trust attorneys. Because the only thing that's going on right now is death and divorce attorneys, death and divorces.
Yeah.
Those are the transfers. So.
Yeah. This market, though, good or bad, it's I think they're the people who are going to be around forever stay around, and the people who they don't have the stomach for it get out of it. Because like realtors, a lot of realtors got in the business when they could put an offer out and 100 people would show up. Now it's not so tough. I literally talked to realtors that I was working with, and they're like, I'm going to get out of the business. I'm going to go do something else. I'm like, no, go do something on the side and ride this out. Educate your clients. Work with people who have bad credit. They'll be around, But again, I understand people have to pay their bills, but it's tough.
Yeah, but a lot of them get out now, but then come right back in when it's good again. Right?
Yeah, well, you keep your license.
Right. Yeah. But, for me, I deal with a lot of people who have been in the business a long time, and they know, and they're in those niches and other stuff. But with this lawsuit against NAR and all the other stuff about that whole thing, it's going to change that industry majorly, and they don't realize it yet. I don't think they understand how much it's going to change it. And I, being personally honest, I think it was FinTech who got involved with that.
Yeah. And
the reason is because there was no way they were going to come in and take over the industry, doing all the stuff that they do electronically and all the, like Zillow and all those, the way the system is in place and now if they can kill that system by getting and winning these lawsuits, which they're doing, they'll be able to come in and do one-sided transactions for a certain dollar amount, and everybody's going to do it all day long.
I was going to ask you, a lot of us are using AI. Do you think there's ever going to be an AI loan officer?
No, but there'll be a loan officer who uses AI. So the AI is not going to put you out of business, but a loan officer who uses AI will put you out of business.
Absolutely, yeah.
You have to know. I've been dealing with ChatGPT since it came out in November, and I showed my attorney a couple things because I bought a property up in Twain, 32 acres, and my neighbors are suing me because I closed off an easement. So I used it to come up with a few arguments and gave it to them. And I'm like, don't use them because who the hell knows if it's real. And there's been a few attorneys who got into trouble because they used it and it was fake arguments. But mine was. And he was like, I talked to him the other day. He goes, man, you were so far ahead on that thing. I'm like, yeah. And the easiest thing you can use it for, because I used it for all my podcast descriptions, all that, but using Cast Magic now, which is it uses OpenAI, but it has the foundation in place for all the stuff you need. So I can drop my stuff in there and then within 2 minutes be able to copy paste and put everything where I need to put it. And I can like my daily down. So there was no way I could do a daily podcast, and I'm doing it now through my lives in the morning at 8:30. Those are called Real Estate Jerky Daily, and that I'm able to do that within a few minutes.
Is your partner an agent, or are you guys both loan officers?
No, he's an agent. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
So my real estate show, I've always wanted to find a good agent on. I had one agent in the beginning, and this and that, and it's taken me 5 years, 4.5 years to find him. And we were doing it daily. I've known him for a while. He's older than me, but we have the same personality. We do really well on the air together. We do well on this stuff. We have a great time, and that makes a difference. Plus, with the RESPA, if you have an agent, they have to pay half your costs.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Man.
So think about that in the future if you're going to do something. Yeah.
I've had agents come on and we just go back and forth, but
if you're not a radio show, you don't have a cost. Radio shows cost money.
Yes,
they're not.
So why'd you go to radio with podcasting?
Because talk radio is through the roof. People love talk radio. And people don't realize, go down. Yeah, we're 1360. It's iHeart 1360, Power Talk 1360. And they have Monday through Friday, tons of stuff on there. And I fill in for other shows on that, just for live shows to do stuff differently and get better at my craft. And because our show used to be live on Saturday, but when COVID came, that all shut that down, and they don't go into the studio anymore on the weekend. So we have to do ours on Wednesday, record on Wednesday for Saturday show. And so,
So you're doing a live show every morning?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. 7 days a week or just 5?
5 days a week. And then the radio show's on Saturday, and then it replays on Sunday, and then turns into a podcast on Monday. But our daily, which is Monday through Friday, Real Estate Jerky Daily, is you can get it anywhere that podcasts are. Same with the weekend show.
Nice. Love
so
it.
I tried it when I got into radio. I took it from radio to podcast. You know what I mean? So I was in both realms, because a lot of we have between 51 to 71,000 listeners on the radio show.
Nice.
So, yeah. 50% of my business came from my radio.
Absolutely. Sure.
So
it makes sense. Yeah.
And you want to be authority in your industry? Get a radio show
and a book.
Right over that, and also be in a documentary. I was in Hacking Real Estate documentary. It was called something else when I first got into it, but they broke down. It was a great documentary about how people got into real estate and how they made money from it. And then I got in there, I talked about how there wasn't going to be a bubble. And this was in 2020. Yeah. And it didn't come out till 21, and and all this stuff. And I said some stuff then that might not be 100% today, but it was pretty close.
Yeah.
We still don't have a bubble.
We don't. No.
The only bubble we had was opportunity bubble. And and it's back here again. Yeah. It was here from January through April. Then it took off because you're able to get huge multiple offers. It's back here again because rates are kind of sitting here. People are getting nervous. This is the opportunity right now to get that house you want. You can always lower your payment in the future, but you can never go back to the price of the house today.
100%.
And that's what people don't realize. They focus on just the payment. It's an investment in your future.
Here, I actually think people go further now. They're focused on that rate, that word 7%, 8%. They hear that and they freak out. And I'm like, can you afford the payment? The payment's real. The interest is what's on the paper. I'm simplifying it, but you know what I mean.
No, you're right. It's not, and it's not really them. It's everybody around them. Stop listening to people who don't own a home. If they don't own a home, don't listen to them. The other thing you can do, and this is a thing I found out, was realtor.com is they have an implementation with Airbnb to find out if you on a property what you could rent a room for. If you're a young couple with no kids and you're buying a house, figure out what you can rent a room or something, or change the garage into a studio and make it amazing, and rent it to a travel nurse. Travel nurses come 3 months out of the time. They normally they normally work at night. So they sleep during the day when you're not there, and you never see them. And they don't party because they don't know anybody in the neighborhood.
And they're good tenants. Yeah.
Right. I'm just saying there's other ways to offset. I'm not saying rent out your whole house, because Airbnb eventually for most ways is going to go away. But if it's a room in your house and you're there, it's not going away for you. It's like New York. You have to check them in. Right, like a hotel, that was their thing, and that's why a lot of them are going away. 20 to 30,000 of them. Jeez. Well, if you are somewhere else and there's people who just need a room, short term. I'm not saying rent somebody who's going to get in there and not pay. That's the problem about long-term renters of one room. I don't have all my money this month because I was out partying last night and I don't have it. No, you want the Airbnb, nurses, doctors, travel. They're looking for a short-term place and they want it furnished.
Agreed.
Just to offset until you can afford that payment is what I'm saying,
Exactly.
or buy, fourplexes, rent, with a FHA and rent, live in one and rent out the other ones.
Exactly.
I've helped many people buy. You know where San Clemente is, right?
Yes.
So I had this is in my book. I had some people from up here he was a principal of a school and she was a psychologist for the school or social worker, whatever she was. And so they had a house. I helped them through the whole downturn in 2008, get rid of their house, buy another house. And then they bought another house. And during that period of time, they appreciated about 115,000. Their whole thing is they always wanted to buy in San Clemente. They found a duplex down there and like this, we'd love to have this. It was 950,000. And this is 7 years ago. So at that time, the max FHA loan for a duplex was 850. So they came in with the difference, which was only 12% down. Since then, that house is now 7 years later worth $2.1 million. Wow. A duplex. It's a block from the beach. How would you, their kids have grew up on the beach. They surf. They have that amazing lifestyle. And that's what I'm getting at. Real estate allows you to do that over time. We were able to, I had a house. My wife had a house. We bought a cabin during the downturn just because we got lucky and it was tough. We didn't, yes, everything's because you're a mortgage broker, you're wealthy. Well, sometimes you can be, sometimes you can't be. It just depends on the market. And we were able to take that cabin, take some money out of it and buy 32 acres that we were going to build our forever home on. COVID killed that because the construction now is so expensive and takes forever. So yeah, I don't know how far you want me to go because I could talk for hours, dude.
No, man, you're great. You're great. I appreciate you sharing all your wisdom. Where can people find your show if they want to tune in? Is it nationally syndicated or do you have to be in a local market?
Well, you can go to iHeart app, yeah, and then look and type in Real Estate Jerky. You can, if you go to any place that you get your favorite podcast at, just type in Real Estate Jerky, it'll be there. And both of them will be there, the daily show and the weekend show. You can find me everywhere under Ed Parcaut. I have that unique name. So I'm Ed Parcaut everywhere: Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. I said that twice, I think. TikTok. I'm everywhere. So edparcaut.com is my website. And on there has everything about me. You can figure out, find it. My books, like I said, go to Ed's Books, getedsbook.com, the Get Ed Book. I can't even talk today. I got to go home. Getedsbook.com. And the reason I did that is because people couldn't spell my name, but they can spell Ed, right?
Yes, true.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Ed Parcaut. I knew he was going to be a fire. Knew he was going to be good. I'm going to stop the recording and we will see you all next time.
Thanks for having me.